Good evening. I always wanted to do that. But anyway, so we're going to be doing a bunch of programming tutorials and videos here on Computer Programming University, which is the more technical channel to my main channel, which is Carlisle Speaks Wall Street, or Fixed Protocol. So today we're going to be talking about a very fundamental concept that is very important for anyone that's looking to do any kind of programming. And it is from the world of brainstorming, right? Got to work that brain, come up with those ideas. So we're talking about pseudocode, writing pseudocode. So what is pseudocode? Pseudocode is basically, in some ways, the blueprint for your programs, but blueprint might not be the best word to use, because the blueprint is supposed to be exact. I mean, if you say the door is such and such inches wide and the doorway is such and such inches wider, you know, if you're off by a few millimeters, that door is not going to open, right? That's kind of a problem. So that would not be good. But with pseudocode, although you still want things to kind of add up, you don't have to have that level of accuracy, because pseudocode can be considered like notes. So you're taking notes for your program. So the basic thing is, in order for you to effectively program, you need to be able to visualize what it is you're trying to do. And once you do that, you need some kind of a simple format that can illustrate your ideas. You know, what is it I'm trying to achieve? We're going to start here, end up here, and then this result. Matter of fact, let's get up on the board right here, and I'll do a quick little something for you guys. Hopefully this is lined up properly. Let's see. All right, it's a little bit too high. Drop it down low. There we go. All right, so you know, whatever. So your basic idea, the basic idea of your program. So you're starting somewhere with something, some kind of condition, and then you want to have various pathways of which to go from here. So you can have an option over here where something else occurs. You can have an option over here where something else occurs. You can have here someplace where you look at the database for something. But the bottom line is you have a structure, you have a flow, right? So you start here. Maybe here is your input. Your program starts and you ask for input from the user. Now, once the user gives you that input, depending on what they say, you can give them some options. Maybe you limit their options. You can say that you can either give a yes or a no as an option. And if they choose yes, then you're going to go here. If they choose no, then you're going to go here. And then these things can be something different. So maybe here, if they say yes, then you're going to run a delete command. If they say no, then you're going to run a copy command. And you can have information about what's done with the copy command, where you're copying it to. And then based on that, you can run some kind of a select statement using information based on what happened previously. But the bottom line is, you've got to have an idea of the structure of your program. What is your goal for the program, and what are the steps that are going to take you towards achieving your goal? So essentially, and even more simply, you have your, elbow grease. You have your step 1, your step 2, your step 3, your step 4, and then you have different options. You have your 2A and your 2B. And basically, what you're doing with pseudocode is you're going to illustrate what these various steps are in sort of, that's why I say pseudo, because some of it's plain English and some of it might be a little bit program language-y, making up words. So I'm going to show you some examples on the computer of some actual pseudocode so you guys can get a clearer idea of what we're talking about instead of looking at my horrible handwriting. All right, so let's do some pseudocode. Let me pull up the chat. 1 second. Just bear with me, folks. We're going to do some pseudocode examples in just a moment. All right. So, very essential part of the design process with building your new program. So, let me share my desktop so you guys can see, and we're going to work through some pseudocode examples. Stand by. And remember to like the video. Every single person watching this video, like it. Not for my ego, but because it's required. If you don't like the video, Google assumes that it's a stupid video and it crushes it. So if you don't like the video, then don't comment, don't like it. That's the perfect thing to do. If you do like it, then like it. All right, so share my desktop. Now we are in Inception. Let's close this out of the way. All right, pseudocode examples. Let's say if we can get some more real estate here. Not? There we go. There we go. Look at that. All right, let's do some pseudocode. And enter, and then select function, insert into, delete, and run loop, for loop, and okay. Let's stop acting like crazy people and actually do some actual pseudocode so I'm not completely wasting your time. The point here is for you guys to learn something. So let's get serious. Okay, pseudocode example. So I'm just going to come up with something on the fly. So let's say, okay, if, let's see, enter value. If value greater than say your number is greater than 10. If value less than 10, say your number is less than 10. Outstanding! Look at this exciting code that we're writing here. This is so awesome. So this is pseudocode, and this is really, really showing you the pseudo in the pseudocode because it's somewhat programming language or syntax, but a lot of it's really not. Because I'm basically doing what's called an if-then statement. But I didn't even follow the syntax for that, even though I do know it. Since it's pseudocode, I'm just writing it simply and conceptually as opposed to trying to actually write actual code. So I didn't go if such and then follow, you know, what is the syntax? You got to put certain values in brackets and put it in quotes, and then the then line you're supposed to do this way, and you know it's supposed to be done well, syntax, right? It's supposed to be done exactly a certain way, and then follow that. I just stuck with concepts, right? I want the user to enter a value, right? If the value, I didn't even specify what kind of value, right? We don't need to get that specific necessarily. I just said enter value. What if they enter a name, right? But that's the point. We want to just get to the concept. So enter value. If value greater than 10, say your number is greater than 10. A value less than 10, say your number is less than 10. So it's pretty simple. So a simple program that is going to allow you to enter a value, and it has two conditions. Basically, it's looking to see if the number is either greater than 10 or less than 10. Based on those conditions, you know, if they're satisfied, it's either going to basically say, you know, state the obvious. Say, hey, your number is greater than 10, or hey, your number is less than 10, right? Now, from this pseudocode, we would actually maybe refine it a little bit more, and then we would actually start doing some actual coding. So I might say enter value, enter number. Right, so now I'll be more specific instead of just enter values. Now when we get into the coding phase, we know that we're going to need a way to restrict this to just numbers. So depending on the language you're using, there may be methods to do that or to enforce that or not. If you're using a language that's not really very complex, then perhaps what will happen is you may just have to simply manage your user using plain English and simply tell them, hey, you've got to enter a number. Only numbers will be entered, accepted. And then you also can kind of idiot-proof your program by doing a check. You got to check in your code, even the most basic, say case shell. You should be able to do a simple check to see if the value they entered is a number or a letter, right? So you can do a check. So you tell them, hey, you got to enter a number. And if they're an idiot, which many of them will be, they might enter a letter anyway. But if they enter a letter, what will happen is you will, before you continue, you do your check. Is value number or is value letter? If value letter, prompt and say, sorry, only numbers will be accepted. Try again. And then you can basically break your loop or continue your loop where that's the proper terminology. You can continue your loop to where it goes back to the beginning again and says, hey, enter a number. Enter text, it says, hey, you have to enter numbers only. And then it goes back again, hey, enter a number. And it keeps doing that until they enter a number. And then once you enter a number, then you get your then statement where, if value is number, then, we tell it what to do, right? So you can add stuff like that in the programming phase. But as far as pseudocode, you want to keep it simple, keep it to the basic concepts, and this will give you something to work with, because you don't want to just get in there and start writing a code. You want to get your thoughts clear. First of all, you got to get out of your head. You have this great idea. I'm going to do this wonderful program. It's going to be like Snapchat, and I'm going to have an IPO, and it's going to make me a billionaire overnight and everything. Okay, settle down. So before you get all excited, what you want to do is you want to make sure that this thing actually works on paper. So you sit down and you conceptually do your pseudocode. This is how it's going to do. It's going to enter this value, and if the person does this, I'm going to do this and then that. And now that it's in front of you, you can look at it and you can say, hey, this doesn't make sense, or this makes sense, or you know what if they enter such and such? Somehow by you seeing it on paper, ideas can come where you'll think of like, oh, I could add this, or you might realize there's a problem. Wait a minute, how is the user going to know what to enter? I should enter something where it tells them what they should enter, or maybe I'll give them the option. So instead of having them, free form type whatever, maybe I can have it be something where they can actually click on something if it's a GUI-based program, or have a menu where they can select the option. So I can have like a whole bunch of options, assign each option a number, and have them press a number to choose which option, right? A lot of different things will come out of that, and that'll allow you to really refine your ideas and your concepts and be able to get to the point where you have a solid foundation of which to start building your program. So it's pretty much that simple. I'll run through a couple of other examples before I have to get going back to work here. So let's look at our pseudocode here and see what else we can do. So all right, so that was a basic idea. I'm gonna do another program in pseudocode. So let's see. All right, let's see. Enter stock. I'm gonna do something that's gonna look up stock prices. How about that? Yeah, we could run some query in the database. How about that? So let's have something that'll look up stock price. You have a database that keeps track of prices of various stocks. Now you just need to let the basically have the user let you know which stock they want to look up. So enter stock could be the prompt. So prompt print enter stock, and then you could say print enter stock if stock. Let's see. Let's check if it's a valid stock. Check stock valid. Okay. If stock valid, then go to quote check. If stock not valid, then print invalid stock. Go back to whatever, pseudocode, right? Go to beginning. All right? And then we can do our quote check section. So we can say quote check. All right, so let's make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see this, make it a little more sensible. Okay, so let's do our quote check function. This could be a function, right? So we can do a quote check function, say select price from quotes where stock equals entered stock. So that's the stock that they entered in the beginning. Select price from quotes where stock equals entered stock. So you run that query, the results will be just the price because you're specifying what column, right? So it's basically like a pseudo SQL. Right, so let's review what we have so far. So print enter stock, check stock valid. So that could be like a function as well. Check stock valid. So this check stock valid is going to do this. If stock is valid, then go to quote check. If stock not valid, then print invalid stock. And if you want, I mean, whatever works for you, but if you want, you can do condition A, condition B, right? You can tab these out, make it look a little more sensible, right? All right, so there you have it. Enter stock. Someone's going to enter a stock. Snapchat. Then you're going to check stock valid, right? So notice I don't even tell you how you're going to check if the stock is valid. I mean, how you check the stock is valid will be dependent on the environment that this is going to run in. A lot of different methods, but the bottom line is I'm just dealing conceptually. Conceptually, I know I need a way to check if the stock is valid, right? And if the stock is valid, then I'm going to go to quote check. Quote check is where I'm going to check for the stock in the database and return the value of price, right? We define that below. So if the stock is valid, the program is going to jump down to the quote check section, that tongue twister, and that's where we're going to run our query. Select price from quotes where stock equals entered stock. So for those of you guys who don't know SQL, basically it's a select statement. So I'm saying select or show me the price right? Price being that particular field or value, column if you're talking about Excel. So there's a column in there or field in there that's called price. All the prices are there. But we only want one price. We want price where the stock, I'm pointing at the screen like you guys can see me, where the stock equals entered stock. So stock would be another field. So in this database, there's a field called stock with all the stock names listed, right? So I want you to show me the value of price for the row where, or for the record, where the value of stock equals whatever you entered. In this case, snap. So wherever you see snap, my light just turned off on me. Wherever you see snap in the stock field or column, I want you to show me the value of price. In essence, that's going to give you the price of that particular stock. But if they enter something, let's go back up here for the other condition. So that's if this happened, that's how you're going to end up. If condition A, it's going to take you down there. Condition B, they type in something that fails your stock checker. You do stock checker. You could check maybe syntax. I think probably a more accurate way. And these are the kind of things that once you have your pseudocode done properly, these are the kind of things that you can kind of work out in terms of working out the details. Get the fundamental structures down first, and then you iron out the details. So for example, what method will you use to do your stock checker? So let's talk about that for a second. So again, we're talking about, in theory, you've done your pseudocode, makes sense, and now you want to talk about the details of exactly how this is supposed to work. So how are you going to validate the stocks, right? Beyond concept, let's get to practice. So you could validate it based on syntax. Maybe there's a syntax. All stock symbols for this particular market that's applicable must be 4 characters. There can't be any numbers, you know. So if there are such rules, then you can do a rule check. You can do a syntax check and see if it is possible for that to be a valid stock based on the syntax of stocks. For example, states in the United States are abbreviated with 2 letters, right? We don't have any states with any numbers, so you can do a check. If any of your values are numbers, you know it's not a state, or valid state anyway. Also, states are all 2 digits, 2 letters, right? If you have a state that's listed as 3 letters or 1 letter, you know it's not a valid state based on that. Now, in that case where you have a finite number of options, perhaps that makes sense. You can do a check, basically cross-reference whatever has been entered for, let's say, states, right? Cross-reference whatever's been entered as far as a state value against your master list of all the potential states. So every single state abbreviation, and see if you find it in there. If whatever they typed in is not in your list, then you can say invalid state. However, what if you're dealing with stocks? Stocks are not, I don't know who's calling me now. Stocks are not finite. They are infinite, really, because you have new stocks, new companies being created every day, right? So you don't have a fixed list of stocks plus just tons of them. You really want to have an inefficient program that's going to be, you know, it's going to be checking based on just the format. You know what I mean? So what I would recommend, and I think I just confused myself there for a second, keep in mind I'm doing this on the fly. This is live. I'm just, you know, I'm on my lunch break, and I thought I would do a quick video talking about pseudocode. But what I'm trying to say is, what I would want to do is I would want to use a concept that's very popular on Wall Street called security master. And I realize this is going to contradict a little bit what I said before, but I apologize. With the security master, what you have is you actually have a master list of all the securities, all valid securities. Now, this master list is updated on a daily basis. So anytime there's a new issue or a new stock, you can add it to your security master. So various processes can actually use this list to do like stock validation. So someone tries to trade a stock and you want to know whether it's a valid stock or not, you can check it against your security master, and if it's in there, you know it's valid. If it's not in there, it's not valid. So that's one way you could do it. As far as using patterns, I would like to retract what I said earlier, and I apologize again. This is live. I think that you still want to do a master list type of thing, like I said with the states, because someone can enter something that technically meets the syntax standards of stocks, but is actually not a valid stock. For example, if stocks must be letters only, and they must all be 4 letters. So I can enter any random 4 letters, and it's going to pass your check, right? So even if it's not actually a valid stock, if you do a syntax check, you'll say, okay, this could be a valid stock. I don't know if it is or it isn't, right? So these are the kind of things you need to think about when you're designing your program. Now, there's other things to consider. In order for you to do what I'm talking about, you need to have a mechanism where you have some kind of security master. You need to have access to it. You need to have a mechanism where it's updated on a daily basis. What if that's not really feasible, right? You're in an environment where you don't have access to a ton of information. Well, in that case, you might make a decision to say, okay, I'm going to actually do syntax checks. So my program is not going to be smart enough to know whether this is actually a valid stock or not. It's only going to be smart enough to know whether it looks like a valid stock or not, because I'm just checking based on syntax, right? I'll do a syntax check. If it follows the syntax of stocks, I'm going to assume it's a good one. If it's not a good one, you know, I will have a condition for the error. So, for example, it follows the syntax. Okay, so I'm going to let it pass. I'm going to go to the function where I check in the database for the symbol. Now, of course, it's not there because it's not a valid stock. So I have to decide, what am I going to prompt the user? Am I going to say invalid symbol? You know, knowing that it could very well be that maybe my security master is not updated or something like that. And actually, we're talking about without using a security master. So you don't have a security master. You're just doing a syntax check. So you have no access to, okay, so in this case, the problem is the symbol may be valid or not valid. So you're going to go and check in your quotes database or quotes table for a quote on something that's not valid, and there's not going to be any quote value returned with your select statement. So you do your select statement. There is no column there's no column that has this value for stock. So the results are 0. But is that because you don't have a quote on that stock, or because it's not even a valid stock? Because let's say, for example, you have a record in the database on a particular stock, and the price value is null for whatever reason. There's no data on it. It's not trading currently. For whatever reason, there's no price for that particular stock. You need to be able to distinguish between the two, right? You have one scenario where you're entering a stock that is actually not valid, right? So it's not a valid stock. So when you check in the database, it doesn't come up, right? Because it's not a valid stock. Then you have a condition where it is a valid stock. It is in the database, but there's no price value. For whatever reason, there's no price value. So both things give you the same result. You run your query, you get no price, right? So you need to develop a program that's smart enough to know how to handle those two scenarios. You know, do you have an if condition that if there is no price value, that you specifically let the user know no price value for this stock? Or do you simply, you know, say no results found? You know what I mean? So you can be able to say, you know, something to the user where I do know this stock, I do have a record with this stock, but I don't have a price for that particular stock. Versus if you don't find it at all, and you could say something where it's like stock not found, right? So you could perhaps add a condition where you say if basically do a check to see if there exists a record where stock value equals that. So maybe that's how you start your thing, where you, before you get the price, you check to see if it even exists. So run a query that says, you know, select star from orders where stock equals snap, which is what the user entered, right? Select star from users where, select star from stocks, or from quotes. I missed my table name out. Select star from quotes where stock equals snap. That's your query. Then you have a condition where if there's no results, then let the user know that, hey, you know, stock not found or invalid stock or whatever you decide to do. Then you can have a condition where if you do get a result, then you can set a condition where maybe you can set a variable where you give it a value. You say stock exists equals 1 or 0. 1 means it's there, 0 means it's not. So you can say if you do get a result back, then stock exists equals 1, right? So now now you have something in your program that says this stock is in the database. So now when you run your query and you look for the price and you get no results back, now you're aware that the stock does exist in the database, but there's no price for it. So it's not that there's no stock in the database, it's in there, but there's no price. So you can let the user know no quote found for this stock, as opposed to just saying like not found, right? So there's a lot of things. I hope this has been educational for you guys, so to just go through the whole process, because again, this is live. I didn't even bother to prepare. I wanted you guys to really experience how the whole process works when you're building a program, right? You know, you're gonna run into obstacles. You're gonna go down a path and realize that I'm going down the wrong path. You know, this doesn't make any sense. How can I do this if this doesn't work? I won't be able to get this value. So you backtrack up and you say, you know what? I need to go down a different path. You go on that path, you run into another problem, and you just keep going through. But the pseudocode is really fundamental to getting the process going in terms of developing your code. Now, before I end this stream, let's take a quick look at any comments in the chat room. I see Low Life 1981 says thank you. You are very welcome, and I thank you for your like. Everyone that's watching this stream, everyone who watches the video afterwards, definitely like the video. Not for my ego, you know. I don't need the my ego. I gotta get going. But this is really for YouTube. If YouTube sees a video and people aren't liking it, YouTube assumes that the video sucks, and YouTube destroys the video. Not literally, but figuratively, that is what they do. So Low Life 1981 is asking a question. He says, how do you avoid logic leaks? How do you avoid logic leaks? Well, considering that I'm out of time and I'm going to get back to work on the trading floor, I am going to say that basically Low Life 1981 has given me a topic for a future video. So we will be talking about logic leaks, apparently. So thanks for the topic suggestion, and I look forward to doing a video or live stream talking about that. And I see we got a whole bunch of likes that just came in. I really appreciate it. And like I said, once again, it's not for me. YouTube is very harsh. It's just not television. YouTube, if you don't comment on a video, if you don't like a video, you don't share it, whatever you do, you have to interact with the video. YouTube is watching everything you guys do. So it's funny, a lot of trolls, they watch videos and they like to thumbs down and write angry comments, and then realize that actually helps, because interaction, you know, that's what YouTube wants. They want you on the video as long as possible, watching it, interacting with it, negatively, positive, doesn't matter. What hurts a video, if you really hate a channel, you hate video, this is the stupidest video ever, rather than writing a comment, don't do anything. Don't write a comment, don't like the video, just watch it, or don't watch it, and just leave. YouTube will see that as you saying, this video sucks, thumbs down, right? So YouTube will see to it that the video doesn't really go very far. So anytime you watch a video that I put up in my channels and you enjoy it and it helps you out and you guys don't do anything, you don't like it, you don't comment on it or whatever, you're basically telling YouTube that the video sucks. I know it's retarded, but that's how YouTube works, so we have to abide by their system. Otherwise, you know, we don't get anywhere. But anyway, thanks for watching. Low Life, again, 1981. Thanks for your suggestion. And I got to get back to Snap is IPO today, so it's a big day. Well, not so big, actually, because, well, I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to say because it's still going on right now. So I don't want to violate any rules. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and see you soon. You're watching Computer Programming University. Remember, learning should always be fun, so smile! All right, guys. Ciao.